Her Hebrew name was Hadassah. It meant myrtle tree, so lovely, like a green tree, full of sweet scent, a symbol of peace and all things good. But in the grand city of Susa, people called her Esther, Esther, which means star. Perhaps it was a secret sign, a hint of the bright shining destiny that God had planned just for her.
I love to listen to stories. Stories of brave people, stories of God's great love. And I always tried my best.
But even though she was sad sometimes, Esther had a kind and gentle heart, a heart full of sunshine. She was a very special girl. Despite the quiet sadness in her eyes, Esther had a little spark inside, a flicker of hope, a gentle light. She was good, and she was kind. Everyone who knew her saw it. They saw her quiet, sweet ways.
I was an orphan, you see. My mommy and daddy were gone. They had traveled to be with God. Sometimes I felt very small, like a tiny star in a big dark sky. I missed my parents so much.
Once, a very long time ago, in a faraway land called Persia, lived a little girl. Her name was Esther. She was a Jewish girl. Her home was in a big, busy city, a city named Susa, the king's city. It was far, far from Jerusalem, the home of her heart, the land of her people.
I always tried to do right. I was loyal to the Persian king, the mighty King Xerxes, it is true. But my very first loyalty, my deepest, truest loyalty, was to God, the King of Kings. I would not bow down to wrong. I wanted to be a steady rock for little Esther.
Mordecai told Esther all about God. He taught her about their people, the Jewish people, God's chosen ones. He shared the wonderful stories of Abraham, Moses, and David. Stories of God's never-ending love, his promises that never ever failed. He taught her to pray. He taught her to be brave, and to always remember who she was.
I loved Esther very much, like she was my own dear daughter. When her parents went to heaven, I opened my home. I opened my heart to her. I tucked her under my wing. I became her protector, her guide. I spoke to her with gentle words. I made sure she always felt safe, and I taught her many things.
Now Esther was not all alone. Oh no, God had made sure of that. She had someone very special, her older cousin Mordecai. He was a kind man, good and wise. He worked near the king's grand palace. He saw the comings and goings. He heard many important things. He was a clever and careful man watching over his little cousin. Susa was a dazzling city. Imagine, if you can, a place of wonders. The king's palace shone like the sun. It had tall, strong pillars, and walls covered in bright colors. There were gardens, oh, such gardens, full of sweet-smelling flowers, and the tinkle of cool fountains. It was a city of great power, a city of riches beyond imagining. The Jewish people, like Esther and Mordecai, lived in this grand city of Susa, but they were far from their true home. They were exiles, living in a strange land. Some had found good lives there. They had homes and families, but they always remembered Jerusalem, the city of God, their holy place. They prayed for its peace every day, and longed to return one day. Life in Susa could be like a dream, full of beauty and excitement, but sometimes a shadow could fall, a feeling of being unsure. The king of Persia was so powerful. His word was law, his wish command. His moods could change like the weather. One day sunshine, the next a storm, so the Jewish people had to be careful. They prayed for wisdom and for peace. A time of big changes was coming to the land of Persia, coming to the grand city of Susa, and coming for Esther and Mordecai. God had a secret plan, you see, a very important special plan, a plan hidden for now, like a seed. But it was growing, slowly, surely, a plan that would need a brave heart, a plan for such a time as this.
I felt small, a little bit scared, like a tiny star in a vast dark sky. But I remembered Mordecai's wise words, and I remembered God's endless love. I prayed for courage and for guidance.
He knew the times were uncertain, and he wanted to keep her safe always. So Esther journeyed to the king's palace, a place of shining gold and marble bright, a world so different from her own. She was with many other young women, all hoping to please the mighty king.
Before you leave your familiar world, my dearest child, listen closely to my important words. Do not tell anyone your secret, Esther. Do not say you are one of God's people, not yet, my brave and precious girl.
Great King Xerxes, the ruler of Persia, was looking for a new queen. His heart was ready for a new love. So a search began, all through the land, for the most beautiful young women. The king's messengers went far and wide. It was a very important task, you see. The whole kingdom waited to see who would be the chosen one. A big, exciting change was coming. News of the king's search spread quickly, like ripples in a very big pond. It reached the city of Susa. It reached Esther and her cousin Mordecai. Esther was very beautiful, you know, not just her lovely face, oh no, but her kind and gentle spirit too. Soon the king's officials came knocking. They saw Esther's quiet, special beauty. She was to go to the king's palace. Soon she would meet the powerful king.
I don't want anything special to wear. I'll just trust Haggai to choose for me. I trust God to guide my unknown path.
Esther found favor with everyone there. All who saw her truly liked her. And it wasn't just for her pretty face, but for the deep kindness in her heart. She was humble and she was sweet. She was different from the other young women. She carried a quiet, gentle dignity, a little light that came from God above. The time came for each young woman to go before the great King Xerxes. One by one they went into his presence, dressed in their finest, most splendid clothes. Esther waited patiently for her turn. Her heart was thumping like a little drum.
I want to remember what my dear cousin Mordecai told me. I pray in secret every day.
Her quiet ways, her gentle, sweet smile, Haggai wanted to help her succeed. There were many long months of preparations, days filled with beauty and care, sweet perfumes and special fragrant oils, soft lotions and lovely flowing clothes. Esther did all that was asked of her. She did not ask for special favors. Her inner goodness shone like a bright light. Everyone who met her felt her warmth.
I just tried to be polite and thoughtful. I listened carefully to Haggai's advice, and I did everything that was asked of me.
Inside the grand palace walls, life was new for Esther. It was full of strange sounds and wondrous sights, you know? Esther was placed in the special care of a kind man named Haggai. He was the king's trusted official and the keeper of all the young women. Haggai was very kind to Esther. He saw something truly special in her. Her Jewish heritage remained hidden, as Mordecai had told her. God's amazing plan was still unfolding.
I will listen to his wise words and advice, and I will keep my precious secrets safe.
Oh, what a truly wonderful day it was. The king gave a splendid feast for all his nobles and servants. Esther was now the Queen of Persia, living in the magnificent grand palace.
Esther is now my queen. Let's celebrate with a great and joyful banquet.
King Xerxes took the royal crown and placed it gently upon Esther's lovely head.
I love Esther more than words can say.
When he saw Esther, his eyes stopped. He saw her beauty, true and pure and deep. This made Haman very cross. He noticed Mordecai's defiance. His pride was wounded. He wanted to punish Mordecai. His anger started to spread.
How dare this man disobey the king's order? How dare he not bow to me?
But Mordecai did not bow. Mordecai stood tall. He sat at the king's gate. Day after day, Haman would pass by, and Mordecai did not bow. He would only bow to God.
I will not bow down to any man. I will only bow to God.
Haman loved the attention, his chest puffed out with pride. He strutted through the palace, he walked through the city streets. He enjoyed his power. He always had a smile on his face.
Look at all these people bowing before me. I must be the greatest man in Persia.
Now in the court of King Xerxes, there was Haman. The king liked Haman. He gave Haman an important job. Haman was second only to the king. The king commanded everyone to bow down to Haman. The king, perhaps too busy or too trusting, or maybe he just liked the sound of all that silver, took off his special signet ring and gave it to Haman, the wicked man. The fate of the Jews now seemed truly sealed.
Do with these people as you see fit.
If it pleases the king, let a law be written to destroy them, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the royal treasury for the king's use.
Haman twisted his words to sound so convincing. Then he made a very bold offer.
Your Majesty, there is a certain group of people here, scattered all through your great kingdom. Their ways are different from everyone else's, and they do not obey your royal laws, king. It is not good for you to let them be.
So Haman went to see King Xerxes. He bowed low with a false, sly smile.
I must see the king.
Haman hated them just because of Mordecai. His heart was full of such dark malice. He convinced himself they were a problem, a dangerous, disloyal group of people. A truly evil thought took root and grew.
I will not just punish Mordecai alone. Oh no, my plan is much bigger, and much more dreadful than that. I have decided I want to destroy not just Mordecai, but all of Mordecai's people too. All the Jewish people, every single one, in every part of King Xerxes' huge kingdom.
Haman's anger burned like a hot fire. He just couldn't stop thinking about Mordecai. Then, someone told Haman a secret. They told him that Mordecai was a Jew. This news made Haman's cruel heart leap. A wicked, terrible idea began to form in his scheming, selfish, evil mind. Esther sent out new clothes for Mordecai, but he refused them. News of Mordecai's distress reached Esther. Mordecai went through the city wailing loudly. He reached the king's gate, but could not enter in sackcloth. Many other Jewish people in Susa also wept, fasted, and prayed.
My people are condemned to die.
The terrible news spread like a dark cloud across Persia. Messengers carried the orders to every town, but in Susa, Haman feasted, pleased with his plan. Esther read the decree, horror filling her heart. Her people and Mordecai were condemned. Fear gripped Esther as she realized the danger facing them all.
Oh no.
Hathach returned with Mordecai's message. Haman has convinced the king to destroy all the Jews. He handed Esther the written decree.
Hathach, go to Mordecai. Find out why he is in such distress.
Queen Esther sensed something was terribly wrong when she heard of Mordecai's mourning. Esther paced, torn between fear and responsibility. The fate of her people rested on her next move.
What can I do? If I stay silent, I am safe, but my people will perish.
Fear and doubt swirled within her, but her people's plight weighed heavier.
For 30 days the king has not called for me. If I go to him now, will he show mercy?
Esther knew the law. To approach the king uninvited meant death unless he extended his golden scepter.
The palace feels like a cage. I am queen, but I am also a Jew. My secret is now a death sentence.
Esther realized her purpose could not be ignored.
For such a time as this.
Mordecai's words pierced Esther's fear.
Do not think you will escape in the palace. If you remain silent, help will come from elsewhere, but you and your family will perish. Who knows if you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?
Mordecai replied with urgency.
Tell Mordecai I cannot go to the king uninvited. It is death.
Esther made her choice. The orphan girl was ready to risk everything. Her faith and bravery would decide the fate of her people. Esther prepared for the greatest challenge of her life.
I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. If I perish, I perish.
Esther knew she needed God's strength for what lay ahead.
Gather all the Jews in Susa. Fast for me. No food or drink for 3 days. My maids and I will do the same.
Esther's fear was real, but courage began to grow. On the third day, Esther rose, weak in body but strong in spirit. She was ready to face the king.
Mordecai prayed, trusting in God and Esther's courage.
The Jews of Susa prayed and fasted, united in hope and fear. Esther and her maids did the same, seeking strength and wisdom. For 3 days, the city held its breath.
Pray and fast for me, all of you.
Esther's courage had opened the door. The king was ready to listen.
Relief flooded me as I touched the scepter's tip.
He smiled and held out his golden scepter.
To enter uninvited meant death, unless the king showed mercy. King Xerxes looked up, surprised to see Esther.
Dressed in royal robes, I walked to the king's inner court, heart pounding.
Esther waited for the perfect moment. The stage was set for the truth to be revealed.
Please come to another banquet tomorrow. Then I will tell you my request.
The king agreed, and Haman was thrilled by the invitation. At the banquet, the king asked again for Esther's request.
If it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come to a banquet I have prepared.
What is your request, Queen Esther? Even up to half my kingdom.
The truth was out. Esther had revealed the villain. The fate of Haman and the Jews would soon be decided.
We have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated. The enemy is this wicked Haman.
The king was shocked. Who would dare threaten his queen?
Grant me my life and the lives of my people.
The next day, Haman arrived, proud and unsuspecting. At the second banquet, the king asked Esther for her request.
What is this? Will he even dare to harm the queen right here in my own palace before my eyes?
He fell onto the very couch where she reclined. Just as he was pleading, the king came back into the room, his anger still hot. He saw Haman on Esther's couch.
Please, Queen Esther, spare my life.
Haman gasped. Oh, his face went white, like a cloth that has seen too much sun. All his pride, all his scheming, all his hate now turned to pure cold terror. He knew he was in very big trouble. The king was filled with burning, fiery rage. He could not even speak for a moment. He stormed out of the banquet room, into the cool air of the palace garden. He needed to think, to calm his fury. Haman was left alone with the queen. He knew his wicked plan was all undone. He knew the king's anger was terrible. He was trapped like a little mouse. His only hope was Queen Esther's mercy. So Haman, the once proud and mighty man, fell down before Queen Esther, pleading.
The adversary, the enemy, is this wicked Haman, right here.
Esther, so brave, stood tall and pointed, her finger aimed straight at the trembling man.
Who is he? Where is the man who dares do this?
King Xerxes was truly astounded. His face turned red, then pale, then red again. Queen Esther, his beautiful beloved queen, and her people sentenced to die? Who would dare to dream such a thing? Who could be so wicked, so very cruel? The king jumped up from his royal seat. His wine cup clattered on the table. The guards dragged wicked Haman away just as the king commanded. Haman found himself caught in his own trap. What a stunning end to his pride. King Xerxes gave Haman's grand house to Queen Esther. All his riches and lands now belonged to her. Esther told the king about her brave cousin Mordecai, who was like a father to her. Mordecai came before the king.
Hang Haman on the very gallows he prepared for Mordecai.
The king agreed, sealing Haman's fate. There was no escape. His evil had found him out at last. The king permitted Esther and Mordecai to write a new law. Mordecai called for the king's scribes, and a new decree was written in the king's name and sealed with his ring. This law allowed the Jewish people to gather and protect themselves on the day Haman had chosen. Messengers rushed this good news out. Hope had returned.
The king, moved by Esther's tears, knew the law could not be changed.
Esther begged the king to stop Haman's evil plan.
Queen Esther put Mordecai in charge of Haman's house.
The king gave Mordecai his signet ring, a sign of great trust. Her courage was woven with her faith and the truth of who she was. God placed her in the palace for that very reason. He used her brave choice to work his wonderful miracle.
She bravely said, "I am one of them." Esther and Mordecai prayed with all their might, seeking God's guidance.
Esther's story shines brightly, telling us of a courage found in a young queen's heart. She chose to be brave, risking her own life to save her people. Remember Queen Esther, brave in the palace? God has a special place for you too. He might be calling you to be brave, to stand up for what is right. Trust in His amazing love. Be a part of God's good plan.
Esther's journey reminds us to hold on to hope.
Even in scary times, God is working. He turns bad to good.
God's people celebrate the Feast of Purim. It is a time for feasting, sharing gifts, and remembering God's faithfulness.
Their sorrow turned into joyful dancing. Darkness had lost, and light had won.
Haman's evil plan was overturned. The Jewish people were saved.